that social contract that you traded your life for to get access to that stuff, we're just going to change the terms of the contract overnight because we've decided to double the money supply.
Anywho, Epstein didn't kill himself. Munger Games.
So David's play on words is referring to Charlie Munger, which for those of you who don't know is basically Warren Buffett's number 2 over at Berkshire Hathaway. I believe he is a billionaire in his own right, and he's got opinions on the economy and different assets within it, things like that. And he is a notable, this isn't his first time, he is a notable anti-crypto critic. And that's fine, because there are some people who are also anti-crypto who I resoundingly respect, such as Peter. The hell does I think? I'll think of his name. No, Peter. Anyway, I'll think of it. Anyway, but before we get into that, so that's where Munger stands with it. And Munger had a recent appearance on CNBC where he was asked a question about crypto. And since it is 2 minutes and 45 seconds, we're going to play it. Pause it when he has something that we have something to say about it, and do it like that as opposed to play the whole thing and talk about it after the fact. So here is Charlie Munger on crypto and whether or not he thinks it's a good investment.
That leads me to this question about crypto that Benjamin writes in. He says, in 2007 at the USC Law School, Charlie said, "I'm not entitled to have an opinion on this subject unless I can state the arguments against my position better than the people who are supporting it." The question is, does this also apply to your Wall Street Journal article on banning cryptocurrencies? And if yes, would you care to share the arguments against your position?
Well, I don't think there are good arguments against my position. I think the people that oppose my position are idiots. And
There we go.
And so I don't think there is a rational argument against my position. This is an incredible thing. Naturally, people like to run gambling casinos where other people lose. And the people who invented this crypto crapo, which is my name for it, and sometimes I call it crypto crapo, and sometimes I call it, well, crypto shit. And
Well done.
it's just ridiculous that anybody would buy this stuff. It is a. You
Sounds
can
like
think
Joe
of
Biden.
hardly nothing on earth that has done more good to the human race than currency.
Pause it.
Well, he says a little bit.
National currencies. They were absolutely required to turn man from a goddamn successful ape into modern successful humans in human civilization.
So nothing more important than national currencies. I want to be clear about this. And to just show you that the way, and again, I believe he's like 98, 99 years old. Like he's an old guy.
You can hear it in his voice. He sounds like he's walking hand in hand with...
Right. So listen, I'm not going to beat him up too much about the words he chooses to use or not or whatever, but I want you to focus on the fact that he says national currencies, and then he somehow links national currencies with bringing humanity basically from the caves to the stars in terms of civilization, all that kind of stuff.
Because money equals fire, right?
First of all, that just tells you how pathetically ignorant he is about monetary policy, period. I want to be very clear about this, is that this is not, me punching up at some titan who knows a whole bunch and I'm just some dummy with, 140 podcast subscribers on YouTube or whatever, and then I don't know anything and Charlie Munger knows everything, right? He has absolutely no idea where money came from, or the fact that things before national currencies were used as a medium of exchange. In Africa, they used to use salt as money before gold was money. In some cultures, they use seashells as money. There's all kinds of different mediums that cultures and societies have used throughout time that were used for a common medium of exchange in order to conduct economic transactions before the rise of national currencies. So first of all, tying national currencies to what made us dumb apes to be able to have civilization is completely ignorant of the develop of monetary theory throughout human history. And B, it opens up an entire Pandora's box of talking about how terrible national currencies actually are.
Some currencies are traded in the bedroom. I don't know what he's on about, but it sounds like an old codger that's done it all the same. There's no way that you're going to invent an automobile that can drive itself. The best way to transport yourself is by horseback. Or if you need to transport your whole family,
Get a wagon.
wagon. Never mind those engines that are going to shoot arrows at you halfway across. Never mind the fact that by the time you reach your destination, it was 20 years down the road and you're a completely different fucking group. Their best way to travel is horseback. Like, or fast forward it and put it in contemporary times for at least us. Like, what is this internet? What's an email? Like, I don't even understand.
Well,
Like, it's never going to take off.
to use the internet example and bring a more modern example of quote unquote experts that don't know shit. There's that famous quote from Paul Krugman who said that, when you examine it in the long run, we will find that the internet will have no more impact on the global economy than the fax machine. This is a Nobel Prize winning economist, and that was his prediction about what the internet would become. Now, you could say, okay, he didn't have a crystal ball and he got that one wrong or whatever. But again, the meme in
Experts
society
get shit
is
wrong all the time.
Exactly. That's the meme
All the
that
time.
needs to be destroyed. And Munger, with his opinions on cryptocurrency, is really no different. So, before we move on to his next part of the statement, when he says that there's nothing more important than national currencies. Nothing at all, Charlie. Not the human innovation that human beings have been driven for. Yes, in some cases, currency, the prospects of making money from their invention is a motivator, but at the end of the day, the currency itself doesn't create the invention. The human mind does. Or what about the National Division of Labor, which eventually, when the global economy became integrated, became the International Division of Labor? The idea that human beings in one area of the world can specialize in one thing, while another group specializes in another thing. They create their two separate things very efficiently, and then they trade with each other, increasing the standard of living for both groups. The International Division of Labor is a massive boon to human progress that has nothing to do with national currencies. If anything, national currencies, and controlled from the top down by central banks and the politicians that control them, have done everything to hinder this voluntary cooperation between humanity that has pushed us from the cave to the stars. So again, Charlie, you are so far out of your depth, and it's not, David has a point, you're old, you're antiquated, you're you're stuck in your old ways. It's not just that. You're being intentionally ignorant, and then you're being abusive in your language to those people who know far, far more than you, because you can't articulate their position.
But also, he's got a vested interest in it working the way that it works because that's how he knows how to work it.
Right.
He doesn't want it to change. He's got a vested interest in it staying the same way that it's always stayed because that makes him richer and you poorer, or just as rich. But he knows
not catching him.
He doesn't want He doesn't want to learn a new thing. Which, as an old dude, I get it. I'm starting to get that way too. I don't want to learn what vibes are. Okay, I'm past that. But anyway,
right. All right. So the next part of Munger's statement, he's going to talk about. Well, he's going to make a completely erroneous analogy, and then he's going to talk about why government is the greatest thing since sliced bread when it comes to crypto. Perfect. Blake.
This has enabled all these convenient exchanges. So if somebody says, I'm going to create something that sort of replaces the national currency, it's like saying, I'm going to replace the national air. It's asinine. It isn't even slightly stupid. It's massively stupid. And of course, it's very dangerous. And of course, the governments were totally wrong to permit it.
So the currency air analogy is, I almost didn't even write that down as one of my things to talk about because it's air is essential to live, Charlie, currency is not essential to live. At the end of the day, we could, if we wanted to, we could go straight back to a barter economy. Now, would our standard of living drop significantly if we don't have a medium of exchange? Sure. But that doesn't mean that the medium of exchange has to be a national currency controlled by central banks who can just print it all willy-nilly and make the rest of us poor while they make people that hold appreciating assets like yourself richer and richer. There's no reason why that system has to persist, to David's point about exactly why you want that system to persist. So, this idea that, well, it's the same thing as national air, and it's very dangerous that governments have allowed it to persist, because don't we know that those stupid rubes shouldn't be able to exchange in whatever medium of currency that they want? How would this argument be any different, Charlie, right? If you're saying that national currencies are better than crypto, then inherently you would also say that within the spectrum of national currencies, there are some national currencies that are better than others. In terms of a monetary exchange, that is also true. However, you wouldn't call somebody in China stupid or in Japan stupid for exchanging in the yuan or the yen. You wouldn't call somebody in Russia stupid for exchanging the ruble. They just have a different national currency that they're using as a medium of exchange. Why can't there be a digital currency like crypto that people all over the world can use as a medium exchange that goes outside the parameters of what one nation state to control? What's inherently stupid about that, Charlie? Why is that more stupid than talking about somebody's dumb for exchanging the yen or the yuan as opposed to the dollar? It's not. It's just a different medium of exchange. And the fact that you can't wrap your stupid, antiquated mind around that for 5 seconds.
No, I think you can.
It's the problem. But
I think you can. That's my point, is that like all those things have value because at the end of the day, you could say we have the gold standard, you could say we have this, we have that. It's just all what the market values it at, which is exactly what's happening within the crypto community. If people value your Bitcoin or shitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever the fuck you've got, if they value it at this price, guess what? That's that price. And he's shitting on something that's a reflection of the thing that made him fucking wealthy. So, like, all we agree upon in the stock market and the NYSE and the NASDAQ and the S&P, yada, yada, it's an agreed upon value throughout the world. What is crypto? It's an agreed upon value throughout the community within crypto, i.e. the world. It's the same thing, but what is he doing? If you went your entire life to accrue and amass an amount of wealth, he's sitting on a gold pile. He's sitting on a pile of gold. And there's a group of people going, hey, we don't think gold is worth that much anymore. We're shifting our thoughts to something else that's more valuable than gold and more sustainable than gold. And what is he doing from his mountaintop of gold? He's saying, no, gold is the best way to do it. Because if it isn't, then I spend my whole life tracking nothing. So there's a vested interest for him to say so. And he's saying it like an old man does. He doesn't no offense, he doesn't come up with a really, facts, figures, stats, this, that, and the other. He just goes, I've got wealth. You have to listen to him because I've got wealth and I've figured it out. But everybody that doesn't want to do what I did is stupid and you're dumb and we'll never move forward anymore. Because if we do move forward, then all of a sudden he's not sitting on a mountain of gold. He's sitting on a mountain of shit that means nothing to anybody.
Yeah. So which is exactly what national currencies are. It's a mountain of shit. And why is it a mountain of shit? It's because a very small handful of human beings have monopoly control over its issue and supply and can take it away from other people through arbitrary means and at willy-nilly, like taxes and things like that, or take it away from them.
Or if you're a trucker in Canada.
Yeah, or take it away from them implicitly by just hitting the printing button on demand, right? That is a completely safe, non-dangerous, again, in Munger's words, crypto is dangerous, but giving 5 people sitting in the Federal Reserve and the politicians that are, backing them up and supporting them with the military's guns, giving that small group of individuals monopoly control over the issue and supply of money is not dangerous at all. There's no bad consequences that could possibly flow out of that. Versus a system where Bitcoin has written into its programming there are 21 million coins that will ever be made. As soon as all of them are mined, there will never be one more coin than 21 million. There's not a single soul on earth, no matter how strong the incentives, whether they have evil motives or benevolent motives, could ever change that. And we're taking the human element, the corruptible human element, out of the issue of money. How is that a bad thing? And if you can't even articulate that position, Charlie, as she quoted to you your own words in 2007, that you're not allowed to have an opinion on this unless you can articulate that position. The fact that you can't articulate that position and then just still call people stupid who can articulate it is the problem, Charlie. You are your own problem. You called yourself out in 2007 for being the problem, and you're just full on embracing it in 2023. By the way, before we let Charlie say some more, the guy's name that I couldn't remember that I can respect but hates crypto, Peter Schiff.
There you go.
Been on Joe Rogan a few times. You're probably familiar with him. He's a very big gold bug, says that it's stupid to buy Bitcoin, stupid to get engaged with cryptocurrencies. You should put your money in gold, et cetera, et cetera. But again, at least Peter Schiff can articulate the crypto position and isn't quite as out of touch as Charlie. So we're going to move on and let Charlie say a little bit more. We have a little bit more to say on what Charlie has to say before we wrap up this segment. So here's Charlie some more on how dangerous and terrible cryptocurrency is vis-a-vis national currencies.
Spooky scary.
And of course, I'm not proud of my country for allowing this crap, what I call the crypto shit, it's
Crypto.
worthless, it's
Couldn't
no
remember
good,
crypto.
it's crazy, it'll do nothing but harm, it's antisocial to allow it. And the guy who made the correct decision on this is the Chinese leader. The Chinese leader took one look at crypto shit and he says, not in my China. And boom, oh well, there isn't any crypto shit in China. He's right and we're wrong.
So I really, this is probably my favorite one because
Do
there
we
is,
have to deconstruct this? I mean, he just kind of fell on his own sword there.
I mean, yeah, when you start
have to
lauding
point it out?
communist totalitarian regimes as doing the right thing, you've pretty much given up the game. But I want to backtrack to the statement right before that to really open up that Pandora's box, because we could do an entire episode on just the word calling crypto antisocial. What is antisocial? Antisocial in a nutshell is basically saying I loathe everything that society is, and that's the good and the bad. It could be the alienation that results from society of certain individuals. But it could also be the positive things of the cooperation that comes within society of individuals working together for a collective goal, stuff like that. And to be antisocial is to be against all of that. Well, what is more antisocial, Charlie, than a government that says, hey, human beings, you're going to trade precious, irreplaceable hours of your life for this little green piece of paper. You're going to forego beautiful memories with your children and forego opportunities to see the world and experience the splendor that is human life. You're going to forego that to get green pieces of paper because you understand that sacrifices have to be made to push humanity forward. Because it's not just about getting the green pieces of paper. It's the work that goes into that, which collectively raises the standard of living for all of us. So yeah, you're giving away a little bit of your life. You're not getting to do all the vacations and all the family time you want. But in exchange for that, you're raising all of our standards of living such that everybody has a little bit better life than they otherwise would have if everybody wasn't trading with each other using national currencies or otherwise. What's more antisocial than a group of individuals saying, all of those hours that you traded, that you thought you were trading for a price, you thought you were trading for a dollar that would hold a certain amount of value, that would allow you to buy a certain amount of groceries, to keep the electricity on your house, the roof over your head, to pay for the social services that keep you safe and comfortable and away from the elements and all of that kind of stuff. That social contract that you traded your life for to get access to that stuff, we're just going to change the terms of the contract overnight because we've decided to double the money supply. That is the most antisocial thing you could possibly think of. That destroys trust in a society. That takes people's irreplaceable hours of their life and whittles them down to whatever you arbitrarily decide because you decided to start printing more money. That's antisocial, Charlie. Not to mention the fact that those national currencies are what governments tax in. And those taxes go to supporting militaries to bomb poor kids halfway around the world. That's pretty fucking antisocial. It goes to pay for the lawyers that protect the politicians from lawsuits for everything from pedophilia to abuse of their power and everything in between.
Burning fucking chemicals in Palestine, fucking Ohio. 134, look it up.
You know, there is the laundry list of things that nations do with monopoly control of their national currencies to be antisocial and destroy human beings, lower the standard of living, it's innumerable. We couldn't possibly touch on all of the areas. And the one response to that, it's not a panacea, it's not a silver bullet, it's not going to fix everything, but one response of the people to actually take some of that power back and say, no, fuck you. You don't get monopoly control over how much my life is worth, because I'm going to choose to transact in crypto, in Bitcoin, where I know that the value of the thing is dependent upon the people that use it, not on the politicians that print the money.
Because if we went to ChatGPT, we know how much our value of life is. It's a racial slur. Like, if it's as cheap as a racial slur, you know what? I don't like your currency. I'm going to go make mine. And it's fine that you trade that. And I'm going to go do this because my values don't match your values, clearly. And if there was an amount of blood on each bill that you got from Charlie in his breath or the air of the nation, you wouldn't keep it in your billfold. You wouldn't hold your iPhone because it'd be gushing blood 24/7. You wouldn't be doing any of this because so much of our currency is so steeped in the misery and suffering and death of other people that anybody that fights for this currency to stay alive is also fighting for it to be sustained by such means. That's how we've done this so far. So for people to start something that, by the way, are any human lives lost in the mining of crypto? No. Are any babies or mothers of said babies that are attached to their backs inhaling cobalt into their lungs
Not
at
directly.
any given moment?
But the argument is,
Whoa.
again, unlike Charlie, I can actually articulate the other side's argument.
Because we don't just call the other side idiots, we engage them.
Yeah, we articulate their position and then call them idiots if their position is actually idiotic. But
We give them a chance.
yeah.
Which is more than what Charlie did.
Is the again from the perspective of does it actually harm people? Is they say that the reason why Bitcoin is bad and crypto is bad is because the amount of energy that it costs to mine crypto is more than some countries in the world, and that it is putting a massive strain on the energy grid, which of course requires burning more fossil fuels, which, and again, to your point about cobalt, if we were to transfer completely from fossil fuels to renewables, would require so much more cobalt digging to support the energy infrastructure to support.
But they're still writing
crypto
legislature
mining,
to
et cetera,
make
like that.
I'm just saying
That's what they
they're
would
still
say.
pushing. They're still pushing to make EVs, which
Right.
do the exact same thing.
I know, but what I'm saying is whether the energy
So they
grid,
just pick and choose which side they're on.
whether the energy grid, which is currently fossil fuel dominant, whether it stays in that position, in which case crypto mining burns a lot of fossil fuels, climate change, all that bullshit, or if the energy grid is switched over
they're
to
picking and
totally
choosing where
green.
they're at.
Right. It's a fail-safe, as is all their arguments, is that it's constantly malleable.
They're
to be able
never
to
held
say-
to any of their arguments, but they'll hold you to the death
Correct.
for your argument.
They will say, again, in one side of their mouth, they will say, crypto is responsible for climate change because it burns too much energy. And at the same time, they will say, let's support Ukraine and get the United States military involved, which is the largest individual polluter on the planet.
Right.
So take these people seriously. That's, again, not what Charlie said in this.
We are
statement.
very good with money.
That's
Give
the
us more
position.
money and we'll get better with money.
And that's why articulating that portion of their position and pointing out how stupid it is, we can say people who still hold to that position are actually stupid, not Charlie who just saying they're an idiot and I can't even articulate why they're idiots.
Because I'm an old man and I eat my Jimmy Dean sausages one roll at a time. Anyway, that should have been the main topic because good God. Have we,
I know we
do we have any more segments on him? Because
on Charlie?
on Charlie.
No, that's it.
Charlie.
No.
Oh, Charlie, you big babe.
No. Oh, and I guess this is an afterthought at this point. The Epstein moment on this is the creation of the Federal Reserve. For those of you who have not read it, I strongly encourage you to. The Creature from Jekyll Island, written by G. Edward Griffin, where he details how the Federal Reserve was created. In the early 20th century, a bunch of bankers, financiers, and business moguls went to Jekyll Island, I want to say Georgia, it's off the coast of Georgia, I believe, and in this secret meeting created what became the Federal Reserve System. And then a few years later, 1913, Woodrow Wilson signs it into law. So those group of people were the Charlie Mungers of their day. They were the rich, powerful, politically connected people who had benefited from the system as it was and decided to completely rig the system to always work in their benefit. And that same system is what has made Charlie Munger rich, which is why anything that attacks that system, which challenges the supremacy, validity, and moral righteousness of a national central currency, must be called stupid and ridden out of society. And we should probably emulate communist totalitarian regimes and making it illegal, because don't be cutting into my profits. You're a terrible person.
So basically what Dane is saying is like they want it to continue the way that it has been going because it works for them and it doesn't work for you. So when you come up with something that works for you and not them, they're going to tell you that that thing doesn't work for you. And here's why: because I'm smarter than you, because I have more than you. Fair?
Yeah.
Cool.